Okay, so we're giving a general overlook on this week's Torah portion and how Jacob, before he dies, is giving blessings to all of his children. So it started off where he gave blessings to the two sons of Joseph. Now, just to clarify something, what is this idea of a blessing? A blessing, the way it's explained in Chassidut, in the writings of the Rebbe's of Chabad, is that a blessing just brings down into the world what was waiting for the person. In other words, you can't bless a person with something that wasn't waiting for him in some way or another. It's just that the blessing makes it come down, because sometimes there can be a blessing waiting for a person, and the person, and it doesn't come down. Maybe the person does something that he doesn't deserve it, or for some other side reason, maybe the generation doesn't deserve it, or maybe it's not the time right now. That's the idea of a blessing. We learned this in great length in when we learned the Kuntrus Umayan, the idea of how blessings come down from Rosh Hashanah. The blessings are in a general way, and they come down every month and then every week, and etc. So Jacob, by blessing his sons, he just brought down to them what their true potential is, what the true potential is waiting for them. And in some way, that's what the Mashiach is going to do. He's just going to reveal the true potential in each and every human being. That's blessing. But then there's also a thing of prayer. And prayer means that you can bring down into the world things that the world doesn't deserve. Uncle Joe deserves to die. He's sick. He's in the bin, and he's already 100 years old. And that's it. But you can pray, and through your prayers, it can change what was decided for him in the upper worlds. Just 1 second. There we go. The prayers that were waiting for him in the upper worlds can be changed. So that's prayer. But here's not prayer. Here is talking about blessings, drawing down the blessings, the full potential blessing of each and every one of the tribes. So a lot of this is relevant to before Mashiach comes, and it's when they go into the land of Israel. Each one will take his portion in the land of Israel, and Jacob is just drawing down the potential to each and every one of them. So therefore, a lot of times the blessings refer to the fertility of the land and etc. So we'll see here, for instance, we have the blessing that was to Dan. So Dan, from the tribe of Dan, eventually is going to come out Samson, which that's going to be 400 years later after this blessing. Right at the end, he was the end of the judges, Samson. And Samson is going to stand up against the Palestine, and he's going to defeat them. And that way it says, if you see Hashem, for your salvation, I hope God. And Rashi explains that he was prophesizing that the Palestinians were going to take out Samson's eyes, and he was going to get tied up to these two big pillars and say, remember, got me, God, and give me back my strength, right? His strength left when he cut his hair off, etc. Okay, now let's continue in the blessings. And we've already finished, there were 12 tribes, you get 12 blessings, 12 tribes, and we've already finished 7 of them. So there remains 5. Gad. Now Gad was one of the 2 tribes. There was Reuven and Gad, and the half of tribe of Manasseh. They didn't want to take up portions in the land of Israel. They came over the border with everybody else. They fought against the enemies. It says that they had to fight 7 years of battles to destroy all the enemies, those who were on the land. God told them to conquer the land from them. And then he went back over the other side to take a part of his land, to take his part of the land. That's what he says, God, Gadud, Yugudenu, Bahu Yaguda Cave. It says God will gather groups, and he will gather the heels. All right, what's it talking about? So we'll see that the word Yagud also can mean cut and things like this. It means different things. So let's have a look at Yud Tes. Rashi is usually the standard explanation of all these, but let's we're going to look at some others also. It says God Yagud Gadenu. All these are language as of Gadud, what do you say, like a battalion or a group, like of soldiers. So it says, then now this is all sorts of grammatical laws, because you have to remember that Rashi, the Torah, when we get the Torah, you get a Torah scroll, first of all, there's no punctuation. So you have to know how to punctuate, and punctuation is very important. It can be the difference between, feminine and masculine and past and future, and sometimes totally different words, can come from a different punctuation. And so it's very important to know. And therefore, Rashi deals with this a lot. Rashi was a tremendous genius. In other words, it says, God, he will come across with these soldiers, and who he'll go back, Akiv, he'll go back on his heels, back to his original land on the other side of the Jordan River. And not one of them will be missing. That's what Rashi says. Let's look at the Kli Ykar. Kli Ykar is very beautiful here. It says there's a lot of gedudim, a lot of groups will come against him in war in the beginning, and he will kill all of them. Like it says, Torav Zeroa Af Kod Kod. That's the blessing that Moshe gives to Gadud, because Moses, in the end of the whole Torah, there's Zot HaBracha that Moshe again blesses everybody with different blessings. And so he says that he cut off the arm with the head. Why? Because or ba'ad or kishamaka b'chirev as hamoka marim yad. When the enemy wants to smite you, so he lifts up his arm with his sword. In those days, they used to fight with swords, right? It was swords. They had swords, and that was close combat. And then they had bows and arrows from far away. But the real combat was close, in close contact. So it says, when the enemy wants to smite you, so he lifts up his arm. Azamaka marim yado, that he lifts up his arm and he protects his head and also is about to smite you. So therefore, the God, who they were warriors, they would first of all cut off his arm of the enemy, Torav Zeroa. They would cut off his arm and cut it into two, and then his head would be open. They would then cut off his head. Some say that he would smite with one smite. He would smite from below to above, like an uppercut, like that. Cut him off. Okay. Yaakov is talking about the end of the war, that the enemies will give his aura. They will turn their backs and run away. That's what it means. Ikvo. They'll show their heels. They'll show their heels to the one who is running away. A little bit different what he said. He said that Rashi said that God, he will go back on his own heels after he finishes the war. He'll go back to the other side. But Kli Ykar says no, that the Gadud Akev, that the heels of the enemy will be facing you because they'll run away from you. Okay, that's what he explains. That is the tribe of Gad. Asher Shmeina Lachmo. Oil is his main food. And he gives the fine things to the king. What does he mean? That Rashi says he's going to have a lot of olives, and he'll draw a lot from the olives. That's the main thing. Okay, what he has olives? Kli Ykar explains it a little bit deeper. Because Asher, he would give oil to the holy temple for the bread offerings, and for also the other necessities of the holy temple, the menorah and etc. And it's known that all the plenty that comes to the world comes from the holy temple. In other words, all the non-Jews and everything, everyone is all the blessings of the world come through the holy temple. Therefore, he says that from Asher comes the food comes from his oil, namely of the Jewish people. Shemana tachat Hashemen, that the fat of the world, Shemana, that the fat of the world comes from the Jewish oil that they give in the holy temple, and that he will give the fine food of the king. What does it mean, the fine food of the king? The holy temple, that was the king of the universe's place. He would put in the holy temple, and the holy temple would provide to the whole world like the king provides for his people. One explanation. Or another explanation, that he will be, Asher will give a lot of charity. Therefore, everyone praises him everyone praises him that the young men, the young women, ki ashruni bonot. That's what it means. That that's what later on Moshe will say. Moshe will say, Buruch mi banim asher, that the Asher will have a lot of will have a big blessing in children. V'hu yitain la'ani lechem. He'll give the poor people bread. Let me get this red pointer here. My red pointer. So therefore, he says that he will provide. He'll be rich, and he'll provide food for all the poor people, etc. So that's going to be the blessing that he gave to Asher. Now we have Naphtali. Naphtali, Ayala Shalucha. He is like a free gazelle. Hanoten Imre Shefer. That he gives Imre Shefer. What is Imre Shefer? It says, more than he gives fine blessings to the world. Imre Shefer. Strange words. What does it mean? Just one moment, please. Right. Here he says he delivers Hanoten, that he gives beautiful words. Imre Shefer, beautiful words. What is it? What does he mean? It says like this. 1 second. Where do I have this here? Oh, here. Let's look at the OrHaChaim HaKadosh, the holy OrHaChaim. Do I have this? Huh? No, I'm sorry. Balaturim. Sorry. The Balaturim. Naphtali Ayala Shalucha. Naphtali, this says, is a prophecy about the war that is going to be with Barak and Devorah. The prophetess Devorah, she takes the head of the army, Barak, and Barak said he won't go to fight unless she's with him, and they fought against Sisro. Sisro, he said he took, what's this got to do with Naphtali? He took 10,000 men from the tribe of Naphtali. Why is it called Ayala? Ayala Shalchucha. Why is it called like a gazelle, a female gazelle? Feminine, Ayala Shalucha, because of Devorah. He went together with this prophetess called Devorah. He gave Imre Shefer, he gives beautiful words. What does that mean? The song that Devorah sang. She sang a beautiful song of thanks to God. We sing this on the seventh day of Passover. That's the Haftorah. Imre Shefer, that's the Gematria Shir V'Shevach. Imre Shefer, the Balaturim is an expert at Gematrias and things. Ayala Shalucha, this is the Gematria, but Tashar Devorah, these words. Ayala Shalucha Anoten Imre Shefer. Take all these letters, add them all up together, right? For instance, Reish is 200, Pei is 80, Shin is 300, add them all together, and it comes to the same numerical value as V'tashar Devorah uBarak ben Anivam bayomahu, that sang Devorah and Barak was the general of the army, Barak ben Aminoam, on that day. Somehow or the other, he had an eye, and he knew that was the exact same numerical value. In any case, he foresaw this victory. Now we have Josef, Ben Porat Josef. Josef is a fruitful son. Ben Porat Alayayin. He is a fruitful son on the ayin, on the well. I'm sorry, Alayayin, above the eye. Eyeball, eye. Banot Sadeh Alishur. And the daughters, they climbed up on the it says the fences or whatever to see him. What is this talking about? What's it talking about? Chav Beis. Here, OrHaChaim. This one's OrHaChaim. There we go. Why does it say 2 times Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat? 2 times Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat. A fruitful son is Yosef, a fruitful son. What does it mean? 2 times. First, because Yosef is fruitful for 2 reasons. Number one, here's why. For 2 reasons. First of all, he himself had the merits to be fruitful. And the other one was because Joseph, like it said, that Joseph was really, that's the first reason. First reason that Joseph had his own righteousness, that he could have actually given birth to the 12 tribes. Number one. Number two, Joseph is a fruitful son because he was not, licentious with his eyes. It says that the wife of Potiphar, she really wanted to have relations with him. She was amazingly beautiful. Joseph was also very handsome. And all the women in Egypt they all had their eyes on him. The whole atmosphere in Egypt was one of licentiousness, of promiscuity. And somehow or other, Joseph managed to withstand all this. Now, Joseph also, he was like a king. He could have done whatever he wanted to. If he would have asked Paro for anything he wanted to, he could have any pleasures that he wanted. No one could have stopped him. And nevertheless, he held himself back. That's what it means, Banus Sa'ada. It says that the wife of Potiphar, she called all of the women of the ministers and the great people, and had Joseph come and serve in front of them. That when he was the servant of Potiphar. And nevertheless, he closed his eyes, and they all looked over just to have a look at Joseph. And nevertheless, the Ruach HaKodesh says that he avoided any sort of sin. He didn't even look at them at all, whatsoever. It didn't even enter in his mind, because he says, Alei, he was above the eye. He was above all the looks of all of these. That's what the Rashi says, pretty much the same thing. Vayomoruru v'robu v'yistamu b'alei chitzim, and they bittered his life. They bittered his life, and they warred with him, and they hated him, the ones who shot arrows. Who were the ones that shot arrows? Let's look at here. These are talking about his brothers. And what's this? Who was it? The people who spoke Lashon Hora. They shot like arrows at him. Who was that? Almost everybody that he met up with it. First of all, his brothers started off. They said bad things about him, and they spoke one bad to the other. And then Potiphar's wife said bad things about him. And even the minister of wine that he saved said, there was this Jewish kid that was into this. He was a servant, a slave, that he interpreted my dream. And so therefore, Bali Chitzim, that their tongues were like arrows, all these people, and nevertheless, he prevailed. But Teshav Eitan Kashto, nevertheless, he is powerful. He sat under their slings and their arrows. Let me just see how this translates once again. That's right. Good. It says, but his bow was like a bow and arrow, was very firm, and his arms were like protected from the powerful one of Jacob. Now, because Roev and Yisrael, that from there he became the shepherd, the stone, the rock of Israel. Okay, what does this mean? Let's have a look over here at the Seforno. Seforno. But Tesha that he was strong, his bow and arrow were powerful. What does that mean? He had a bow and arrow. It says he said Joseph could have shot back arrows at the people who spoke against him, but nevertheless he refrained from that, and because of that, Yoshev be'etan, That's what his visitation. He sat powerfully. He became a king. And the king also said about him to his servants, is there anyone like this that has the Spirit of God inside of him? That's what Pharaoh said about Joseph. So Joseph, if he wanted to, he could have taken revenge on everybody, but he didn't. He said, there's no one such as wise as he was. He said, Yafazu Zaroi Yadav. He says there will be this, will be guarded the arms of his hands. He translates it differently. He says that the Pharaoh put his ring on Joseph's hands. But it all came Miyadei Avir Yisrael, but it all came from Miyadei, the powerful one of Yaakov, and the stone of Israel. What is it talking about? That all of this power that he got saved, and all of his success, it came from his father Jacob. That Jacob was the one that really strengthened all of his sons. The righteousness of Jacob was what stood for him. That's what saved him from all of the slings and arrows that was against him. And that from then, because he had Bisham, from this good way that he inherited from his father, as he became a shepherd of all the Jewish people. He enlivened all of the Jewish people. And in a way, it's either he's enlivening them today, like a precious stone, or even a powerful stone, that even if it's not a precious stone, but it stands very, very firmly. Right? That's because of his righteousness. So that's what saved all the Jewish people, saved all the world. And he inherited this from Yaakov. With that power of Yaakov is saving us today, from the God of his father, and will help him, and with Shaddai. Shaddai has the name of God. He will be blessed. The blessings of heaven from above, the blessings of the depths from below, the blessings of the breasts and the womb. What type of a blessing is this? He says, Yaakov is saying to his son Joseph that you should have all of this, and God will help you. God will help you. And with God, your heart will be every the blessings will be directly from God, as though I didn't bless you at all. God, he'll bless you. The blessings of the breast and the womb, the blessings of your father and your mother. In other words, all of those who you saved will give those who are born because you saved them. Joseph saved the whole world. Will all bless you. They'll be fruitful and etc. All the children that will come from your saving of the world, and also from your tribe, Ephraim and Manasseh, they'll also be the blessings of your father will be more than the blessings of my parents. In other words, the blessing that I'm giving you, and also the blessing that contains the blessings of Abraham, Isaac, the blessings I give you, they're better than the blessings that I received from my father. The blessing that Yaakov received from his father, that was through trickery. He had the trick in order to get the blessings away from his brother. But you're getting the blessings because in an open way, in a happy way, you saved the whole world. I'm giving you blessings. Al tavas give osolam, to the spreading out of the hills of the world will be over the head of Joseph and the head of the exile of his brothers. Those, even when the Jews are in exile. Let's see this where it's talking about Avi Yaakov. That remember when Joseph almost wanted to sin with the wife of Pharaoh, but the image of his father appeared to him, like it says and so that's what it means. Taiva v'chemda. Mitzuki eretz. This merit will stand for you to the heights of the world, to the end of all time. Okay, finally, Benjamin. Benjamin is a devouring wolf. In the morning, he will eat, and in the evening, he will divide his spoil. What is this talking about? This is talking about the prophecy that Benjamin is going to be devoured. There's a terrible story in Judges, the book of Judges, in the Pelegish of Giva. The Pelegish of Giva was from the tribe, the people of Benjamin did this terrible sin, and they got punished for it. That's what it means, Zev Toref. But also he prophesies on Shaul, King Saul. The King Saul came from the tribe of Benjamin, and he defeated all of his enemies around. Like it says, Shaul, they will fight. Also, Mordechai came from Benjamin, Ish Yemini. In the evening, he was said divide the spoils, even when the Jewish people, the sun sets for the Jewish people, when Nebuchadnezzar destroys the temple and puts them into exile. Nevertheless, there will come Mordechai and Esther. Mordechai and Esther both came from Benjamin. They will divide up the spoils of Haman, like it says, Beit Haman natati leEsther. Said, okay, all these are the tribes of Israel, 12, and this is what their father said to them, and he blessed them, and each one according to his nature, he blessed them. You know, there's all the blessings that were waiting for them. So I just want to go one more thing. Yaakov says, bury me in Hebron, in the place of Marat HaMachpelah that I bought. And Yaakov finished talking to his sons. V'yasav raglav, and he gathered his feet into the bed. And v'yigva, and he began to, to die. And he was gathered into his people. Says Rashi, he was gathered in his bed, but it doesn't say that he died. The rabbis say from this, in the Gen49, Yaakov Avinu lo met, that Yaakov in fact did not die. He still is with us forever. That's the end of the book of Genesis. Now let's try see how much we can get done from the Haftorah of this week. 1 second. No, I don't know what tribe I belong to. The only ones who sort of know which tribe they belong to is those are the Kohanim, the people of the Kohanim, a certain degree the Levites, and we suppose that everyone that's except for that is from the tribe of Judah, Yehudah. It's from the tribe of Yehudah, because the other 10 tribes were all put into exile. Nobody knows where they are. Mashiach, it says, will bring them back. But until then, nobody's going to have any idea who these 10 tribes are. So you can suppose that anyone who is not from the Kohen or a Levite, that he's from the tribe of Yehudah, Judah. So that's the tribe that everyone's from. Okay, let's now stop this share and let's stop the recording.